Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of the Bold Vision podcast, where we spotlight leaders in the construction industry and we specialize in helping small businesses scale their revenue. If you want to learn how to take your business to the next level, be sure to stick around. You can drop your comments below, follow us on YouTube and Spotify, or subscribe to our channel. For those of you just joining, I'm your host. My name is Sonya Sanchez. And today we have the pleasure of speaking with John Marko Giannakis. Did I say that right? It's a long name. Did I say that right?
Marko Giannakis.
Marko Giannakis. Okay. And he is the president of Meridian Stone and Countertops. So John leads a team of over 70 professionals across 2 locations, delivering premium custom countertops for both commercial and residential projects in the Virginia metro area and the Delaware Valley. So John, thank you for joining us today. I'm really glad that you're here, and we're just going to jump into it, and you're going to tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey and about your business.
Yeah, thank you, Sonia. I appreciate it. I appreciate you having us on and spotlighting Meridian. We're excited about that. Yeah, we have 2 locations. We're in Alexandria, Virginia. We service the metro DC area up to about Baltimore, and anything north of Baltimore into Delaware, southern New Jersey, and the Philadelphia market. We have a location in Pennsylvania as well, just outside of Philadelphia. So we specialize in multifamily construction, new construction, but we also service residential homeowners as well, builders, real estate developers, designers. But the last 15, 16 years, most of our business has been new construction apartment buildings. So it's been a good ride for us, and it's exciting. It's a lot of ups and downs. It's a lot of work as far as lots of hours we put in. It's a tight schedule, so it's not like going into one home or 1 or 2 homes at a time. It's a lot of times it's a whole floor at a time, and so our guys really have specialized in that niche and being able to go out and field measure and turn around a whole floor and a whole apartment building very quickly. So that's definitely our specialty, and we also specialize also in residential custom work as well.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, John, can you share with us, like, how did you venture into like stone countertops business? I mean, what inspired you in the founding, of the Meridian Stone Countertops? Because as we all know, you could be a roofer, concrete, building pools. I mean, there's a million things that you can do in the construction industry. So tell us, what was it that took you to the countertop space?
Yeah, my dad was in countertops in the 80s and 90s. He had a laminate countertop business. I worked there during the summers. I'd been around it my whole life. I went to school, went to college to get away from it, got a degree in computer graphics, believe it or not, and then somehow just ended up back. So when I graduated college, I ran into somebody who was an associate of my dad's, and he was in the industry. It was in the early 2000s. Granite was just really taking off in the residential space. Before that, it was laminate countertops everywhere, even in $1 million homes, and that's just what builders were putting in. In the early 2000s, granite started taking off. I was lucky and fortunate enough to connect with somebody that his timing was perfect. So I started with them. They sent me out to Chicago, where I thought I was going to be for a few months to open the office there. It ended up being a 10-year stint. And so I was there for a while. I thought I would be there for forever. Met my wife out there, had kids out there. And then when the market really shifted and slowed down at the end of, after the market crash of 07 and 08, things really slowed down. My brother, who was still here in Virginia, started a company, and he said, "Hey, we need a granite shop. Come back here." I came back here, partnered with them. That was in 2011. And then since then, it's just really taken off. And so, like I said, it's some ups and downs. But in the end, I really do love the product. I love marble. I love granite. I was always interested in it. Even in college, I took some geology courses. And believe it or not, a lot of the design elements of computer graphics have come in handy. So sometimes I said, well, I went to college for this and now I'm doing this, but it has helped me as far as, looking at colors, different designs and things like that. But I love it. And I think it's exciting. It definitely has its challenges, but it's very rewarding to see what we built. So.
That's amazing. So would you really say kind of it was your family history and your father that really kind of inspired you just to continue to go with this?
My dad had three boys, and we all kind of went our separate ways and kind of doing our own thing. But really, when it comes down to it, he was the one that kind of put us on this path. Yeah, I think it was definitely part of it. Like I said, going to college and trying to go into technology and get away from the construction industry. But looking back now, it really is so rewarding. Just the whole process, the whole building process. Yeah, I wish I kind of took it more serious early on, but here I am.
Yeah, well, I'm sure your dad's very proud of you, and he looks back and says, "I remember when I was doing what he's doing." Right?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
try to bring him by the shop sometimes and kind of show him what we're doing here now.
Right. I'm sure the times have really changed. So going back to like the early days, like what are some of your challenges and maybe successes that shaped your company, today, like that shaped them and what they are today?
Yeah, so we've been fortunate to have some good people. More than three or four of these guys have been with us since day one here. Back in 2011, they were there from the beginning. We really didn't know what we were getting into with this multifamily. The apartment buildings were just starting to come back. New construction was just starting to come back after the crash. Before that, it was a lot of residential. So we'd have 5 jobs a day, and it was 5 different locations: Mrs. Jones' house, Mrs. Smith's house, different colors, different sinks. It was a totally different model. When we got our first building and they wanted 35 apartments in 3 days, we didn't realize we were going to be working around the clock to try to make it happen. And we all kind of looked at each other, and we stayed late ordering pizzas and, just trying to see, if we could see if we can do it. And we invested in some equipment. We made some changes. Had to do things a little differently than what we were doing before, but ultimately we got the hang of it, and we kind of learned and leaned into the different technologies that we needed in order to make this happen. And so since then, looking back, we've done quite a few big projects. Our biggest one is over 800 apartments.
Wow.
We've done several 10 to 12 projects a year since then. And we're also contracted out through 2026. We just signed a contract for a project that's going to go through 2027. So we're excited about that.
That's amazing. Yeah, well, going back to, when you landed that first apartment complex, right? Do you remember like how did you even land that? I mean, if you were just doing residentials, right? Trying to get, one homeowner to the next. I mean, how do you transition from doing a custom home or one home to actually landing a deal, with someone that has an apartment complex or a development of that size? I mean, how did you get involved in that?
Yeah, I can't take credit for that. That's how I came back from Illinois. I was living out there. I was trying to figure out what we're going to do next. My brother and our business partner at the time, it was their project, and so they got awarded the project, and then they called me and said, and we all knew each other, and we had been talking about possibly doing something together, and they said, hey, you got to come back here because now we have this job and it starts in 9 months, and we don't have a shop, so we got to get that set up. So we all kind of came together. I moved across country. My kids were still under a year old at the time, and we found the space, we found the machines, we set up the shop, and I did that in Chicago before, so I had the experience doing it. But we really didn't know. Like I said, it was one project, and hopefully we needed to get more, and one turned into 2 and 3, and then next thing you know, it really kind of took off. So our partners and the relationships that they had really are what brought that kind of business to us.
Right. I know sometimes the biggest success stories is when you really don't have a clue what the hell you're doing, right?
Yeah,
And you have an opportunity and you just go, okay, well, I'm just going to dive right in and hope for the best. And, but at that point, you have to figure it out, you
right,
know?
right. Yeah, and the other thing is a lot of people don't like to do this kind of business. When I was in Chicago, I said I wouldn't do that kind of work. For the margins are different. The retention, the cash flow is a challenge. Having terms with vendors to kind of complete projects like this, it's a challenge. I think the reason we've been so successful over the years, the last 15, 16 years, is because we're able to do it. You hear stories about subcontractors that come in. We're a subcontractor on these big jobs. So a subcontractor comes in and then they just chew right through them because it's just, there's so many compliance items. There's so much that you need to do in order to do the work. And a lot of guys in our industry, they don't think it's worth it. We've been able to survive and thrive knowing what we need to do and our relationships with our clients and also with our vendors. So that's definitely helped.
Yeah, I bet. So, now that you are like the president of the company, I mean, like, what's your day-to-day operations, in the current situation today? Because now you oversee several locations, you have, I'm sure, a lot more employees. So, what does your day-to-day look like?
I'm working on trying to remove myself from a lot of the day to day, but I am still very involved with my team. I work very closely. I'm accessible to everybody, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. I know that's in order for us to grow. Um, I need to delegate more, but I'm still reviewing proposals. I'm still reviewing all the estimates, all the bids. I'm still working on marketing with our sales teams. I'm still consulting on the schedule with our production teams and our coordinators. So a little bit of everything, but I'm working on trying to delegate a little bit more and trying to train our team and give them the confidence to kind of run with a lot of this because a lot of them have been with us for many years. I think it's just the culture here that it's been a very, it's an open door policy. So everyone's felt very comfortable, which I think is a good thing. But again, I need to empower everybody to kind of make their own decisions. And that's what we're working on. So.
Right, I know. And sometimes, giving those people those extra tasks and, making sure that they have the key performance indicators that are going to make them successful as a business owner. Sometimes it's hard to let go of that control just a little bit, you know?
Yeah, yeah, I know all about that. Yeah, but you know what? I was in Philadelphia yesterday at our office there, and I came back here, and I didn't check my emails. You know what? I'll deal with it when I get back. And I went through everything this morning, and everything got taken care of. So I think I get copied on a lot of things that you know I need that the team can take care of. But sometimes if I recently switched off the notifications on my phone for the email. I'm still able to access it if I need to, but I don't need to get a notification and then have email manage my day. And so, things get done, the team can handle it. And when I go on vacation or if I'm not here, everything gets executed just
Right.
the same. So,
Yeah, well, I know for myself too, sometimes I've just had to say, look, if there is a problem, it'll be there tomorrow, and if it's a success and, they have good news for me, that'll be there tomorrow too.
mhm.
So, as long as the building's not burning down or it's not flooding or, your granite didn't show up in 1,000 pieces. I mean, even if it did, right? Like, what are you going to do about it? I mean, at that point.
It's happened. I've been at a homeowner's house. We were working on it for weeks. This was in Chicago, and the truck pulled up. They were unloading it. The lady was very nervous. We were in her driveway. They were pulling it off. The dollies flipped over and shattered all the pieces in her driveway. I looked at her and I said, "We'll be back in a couple of days." It was a bad day, but it happens. And luckily for us, not that often. The guys we have are great. They do great work. They're very loyal. They stay late if they have to. They come in on Saturdays if they have to. I have all the confidence in them that we're able to do what's needed to get the job done. And so it's been really rewarding to see that.
Right. So, in your opinion, I mean, because you still do residential and commercial, how do you think that's evolved over, maybe the last decade or two?
Well, the product is definitely different. You know, in our industry, we used to call a business like this a granite company. That's what, it's a granite company. They still call us the granite guy, on the projects. Hey, when's the granite guys coming in? But really, we do very little granite now. So the product is shifted to quartz, which is a man-made product. So I'd say the last 7, 8 years, it's been almost exclusively quartz. It's a man-made product. It's 93% quartz, 7% pigments and polymers. You're able to get a more consistent product. It looks like stone. It feels like stone. We cut it. We install it with the same tools as stone, but it's not natural stone. But
Okay.
very popular. So we don't see, back in the early 2000s, up through 2006, 7, 8, it was all natural stone. It was granite. It was tropical brown, Baltic brown, Ubatuba, which was like a greenish black color. We haven't done that in years. So the product has really changed. Some of the design trends have also changed as far as kitchen islands. You'll see like a mitered edge with waterfall edges. Um,
Yeah.
it's where the stone comes down the side. We're seeing a lot of that the last 3, 4 years. Full height backsplashes now going up the wall. So instead of the 4-inch backsplash that we used to have or a tile backsplash, now they're doing the matching stone on the surface and also going up the wall. We're seeing a lot more of that now. So
Yeah, it's a lot more modern. I mean, I watch a lot of these home remodeling shows. I'm the Magnolia Network queen. I like that stuff. I like to watch the before and after, how they take the ugliest house in the neighborhood, in the nicest neighborhood, but the ugliest house. And then at the end of it, you're just like, oh my God, what aesthetics and,
right.
some paint and some nice countertops and floors. And I mean, you really can just change a whole environment,
Yeah,
by just having a niche and an eye for beautiful things. So yeah, you don't see granite too much anymore. I am seeing a lot more of the quartz, and I'm sure the laminate is just completely like just disintegrated. Probably. I mean, you don't probably ever see that.
yeah,
Or-
we don't come across a lot of that. We actually can't even produce that because our environment is wet and you need a dry environment for that. So we wouldn't even be able to provide that in our shop here. But if we do have a request for it, we have a hard time finding contractors that'll do it, just because there's just not a lot out there anymore. Um,
Right.
but yeah, the product selection, we do still see. Quartzite is another product that has really, really been popular the last few years. Quartzite, it's a natural stone. Um,
Okay.
Technically, I guess it could be considered a granite or marble because it's a natural stone, but it's composed mostly of quartz. Taj Mahal is a very popular color that everyone is looking at right now. It's a beautiful stone. It's a natural stone. It's harder than a typical stone, so it is resistant to scratching and things like that. But it's a beautiful product. But that's coming back. But a lot of the exotic stones, a lot of the marbles are still very beautiful. I love them
Right.
myself. Um,
Right.
but
Yeah,
yeah,
I saw the quartzite, but you're saying the Taj Mahal. So what is that? Like what color is Taj Mahal?
that's the
What
name
would
of the
you
color.
compare it to? I know, what color is it?
It's like a light cream. It's
Okay.
still a white, almost I don't want to say a pinkish beige. I'm not describing it very, very
Well,
good.
you probably could highlight with any other color. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like an accent color, it would go with anything. It would go with greens, browns,
Yeah.
rust, pink, blues in the right areas,
Yeah. Some of the cabinets that are coming back now, these wood tones, it works very well with that. We did a beautiful home a few months ago in Fairfax with that. It turned out fantastic. So it's a nice product. It's a little bit pricier, but it's very popular right now.
Right. Well, that's good. And I mean, and me, I like to cook. I'm from the South. I'm from the deep South. Originally from New Orleans, so I'm a good old Cajun girl, and I love to cook. And some of these real expensive countertops. I remember back in the day, you couldn't just take things out of the oven and put it on the countertop. So, how does the quartz and the quartzite? How does it work with putting hot things on it?
I
Just
still tell
curious.
people not to do that. I love to cook myself all the time, and we cook at my house almost every night. Either me or my wife are cooking. Um, a lot of the quartz, there's pigments and polymers in there that could scorch. So we don't recommend that. I don't know if it's, um, as far as cracking or any of that. So I was not concerned with that, but I would just say use a trivet, use a cutting board.
Right.
Um,
Right.
but yeah, the quartz doesn't stain, it doesn't scratch. But I wouldn't recommend putting a hot pot on there.
Well, that's good to know. So, getting back to just, day in, day out, I know that you said, most of the people that work for you, I mean, you have people that have been with you for since the very, very beginning. And so, as far as like sourcing skilled labor or maintaining the craftsmanship standards, like I know since COVID, a lot of people really just didn't want to go back to work. And for the people that, didn't come back, you had to go out and hire new people. What has that been like for you? I mean, was that a challenge finding, skilled people to, employ after COVID?
Most of our lead guys here, they've all come up through the company, so they had sufficient training. A lot of new guys after even 6 months, 8 months, will slowly elevate them, and so we haven't had really an issue there. A lot of our office staff, we've had a lot of turnover in the office in the last 5 years,
Okay.
especially after COVID. So during COVID, our field guys were essential. So the project had to get done. So these buildings that were in the last 10% of they were building it for 3, 4 years. And now the last 5% is the countertops. So we had to go out. But our office, we couldn't come to the office. So we were working from home. When we came back, a lot of people didn't want to come back. So they didn't want to come to the office. So we had some turnover there. And then some people found other opportunities. So that's been a challenge, is finding people that are open to this kind of an environment. It's a lot. It's a lot at one time. And so if you don't have that pace and that energy to come in and say, okay, we've got 25 apartments on Tuesday, and then on Thursday, we got to get another 30 in there, and we got to have this many done at this other project by Friday. It's a lot. And it's a lot coming at you, and it's fast paced. You know, Looking back before, I didn't think. I remember in the early 2000s, we wouldn't be able to do this, man. I said it would be impossible. And now looking at it, we laugh about it and say, we used to say, there's no way you can do this in 2, 3 days. And we used to tell people 2 weeks minimum for one kitchen.
Oh, wow.
And now it's hard to believe that it's the same, but
So
it's.
do you just have more manpower, or you're just quicker because you have better tools and better schedules and, just more efficient all the way around?
I think it's a little bit of both. We set up the shop for production when we
Okay.
started in 2011. We don't have a lot of the new technology that you're seeing in some of these other places, because when we set up the shop, that wasn't the most efficient way to do it. A lot of these fancier machines, they can do beautiful things, but it's not what we need. We need quick, we need quantity, we need production. So when we set up the shop, we set up that way. We set up the equipment that can polish the edges, not with a decorative edge, but with an eased edge, which is what everybody's doing now.
Okay.
So it comes through quickly. Also, our team, these guys, I joke with them sometimes. If their original interview, if I told them, hey, you got to, install 40 apartments a week, they would have walked out. So what they're doing and what they're able to adapt and see what's possible, that's really what it is our teams, is them knowing that they can do that. And even now, when we hire people, we bring people in and we say, hey, can you do this, this, and this? They say, no, that's impossible. And I look at my guys and I say, well, we do that all the time. So,
Right.
you know,
You just adapt. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm just going to move on to like your vision and goals because, like you said, you're doing things that you never thought you were going to do back 10 years ago, or maybe even 5 years ago. So, I mean, looking ahead, where do you see Meridian Stone and Countertops like in the next, 1 to 3 years? I mean, what's your growth plan? And are you going to expand services or new markets, or, where do you see your company going?
yeah, we are. So we're looking to diversify, you know, our offerings, as far as expanding to more contractors, more real estate developers, more residential. We've hired some salespeople to focus on that sector. Um, going into other areas as well, like restaurants, things that we just didn't have time to do before. And now it's like we can still do the apartment buildings, but we also, why not look at those?
Right.
Those projects turn around quicker. Um, and so being able to fulfill that, we're looking at doing more technology, um, upgrading some of our equipment, and the way we do things. So just not doing it the same way. When you're doing something for 15, 16 years and it's been somewhat successful, it's hard to look at it and say, okay, what are we going to do to improve it, right? If it's not broke, don't fix it. But I don't think that's the case here. I think if we want to grow and expand, which is what we want to do, that's what we have to do. So we're looking to expand to different sectors, and we're looking to possibly get some new space, and upgrade our equipment and our marketing as well. We didn't really have a website up until a few years ago. We didn't do any social media. Our sales team is really focused on pressing that, so we've started to do that a little bit. Everything was relationships before, which is great, but we definitely want to forge some new relationships now moving forward. So in the next 3 to 5 years, I hope to see us possibly double what we're doing now.
That would be amazing. Yeah. So what are some of the current challenges that you're aiming to address with the company? Like you said, I mean, you didn't even really have a website before. You probably weren't, keen on SEO and, being in the Google Maps and having that visibility. So, what are some of the challenges that you see maybe getting your company to where you want it to be?
Oh, I mean, what we do, the pricing is, it's the materials, especially these days now. It's hard to it's fluctuating, so it's hard to lock in prices. That's been a challenge lately. Finding good labor is always a challenge. Finding space, really. We were looking for a new warehouse for the last couple of years. We finally just signed a new lease to stay on where we are for the next 5 years because it's just been such a challenge to find space.
And is that in Alexandria, you were saying?
Yes, yeah. So
Well, there's nothing in Northern Virginia. I know it is
really,
so saturated. I
it
mean,
is.
yeah. And I mean, I think you'd have to go out past Manassas and, way out.
We looked out there. I mean, not only the prices are ridiculous, but a lot of these data centers, they're taking
Take it
a lot of
over.
space. And so as a landlord, they don't want us in there. They want, a data center that has no employees, and it's a lot easier to rent to them than to somebody like us. But we're always looking. We're looking to expand that. We're looking to expand to different markets, Southern Virginia, and possibly further into Pennsylvania. So we've had a couple opportunities in North Carolina, the Norfolk area, down in Southern Virginia. So we're always looking. We've got a couple projects in Richmond right now that we're doing, and one in Fredericksburg as well. So
Right.
I don't see things slowing down. I think it's going to keep going. And so we're excited about that. People are going to need countertops. And so a lot of these buildings now that we did, several buildings that we did when they were first built, 12, 14 years ago, are now calling us. The new owners are calling us to
Right.
replace the granite countertops that we put in there when they built it with
Right.
new countertops.
Well, and in a lot of these businesses in these big commercial buildings, I mean, I know you say you do a lot of apartments, but even all of the office space, now that people are back to work, everybody has a lunchroom, a conference room, a kitchenette, an area where they gather and eat. And, I mean, 'cause I've worked in DC and I've been in all of these, Ronald Reagan building. I mean, you name it. I have been in construction for 2 decades, and they all have, kitchens and dishwashers, and I mean, really nice, and then when they get a new tenant and they have to do a tenant fit out, I mean, like you said, everybody needs countertops, everybody needs cabinets. That's never going to go away. So it's definitely a good business to be in for sure.
Yeah, yeah. And like I said, I think a lot of those opportunities that we were turning down in the past, fit outs, offices, restaurants, things like that, we're looking at those opportunities now, and we're starting to bid on that as well. So hopefully that boosts that segment for us.
Right, right. Well, one thing that you mentioned is, you've had a good journey so far. I've really enjoyed the story and enjoyed, learning more about your business. And, you mentioned your goals for the business over the next, 1 to 3 years. You'd really like to double. So my question is, like, hypothetically, if you had a magic wand and you could fix one thing in the business right now, it's either maybe slowing you down, it's holding you back, that one thing, like, what would it be?
I don't know what that is. If I did, I'd fix it. I was talking to somebody else about that earlier today. I see the vision of where we need to be in 3 years. So I guess if I had a magic wand, I would put us there, and then I would look back and I guess reverse engineer how we got there. But it's that's the problem. I see where I want to go, and I see where I want the team to go. We're trying to figure out how to get there. And so whether that's more space, whether it's just doing things differently than we have, um, purchasing wise, buying from local suppliers versus importing ourselves. The equipment, we always said we don't need that equipment because we do it this way, and this works for us. Well, now we're looking at that equipment and say, wait a minute, maybe we should do it that way and see if that works. In with what we're doing with currently. So adding services, possibly looking at other products to offer as well. So um, I'm not sure how we're going to get there, but I think we all share the same vision, and so we're going there. And so I'm excited about that. But if I had a magic wand, I would. That's what I would do.
You would just go there and then you'd
Go
worry
and,
about it later.
yeah, I don't
Just
know if
like
that's
when you got the
a
first
question.
apartment building, right? You're
Yeah,
like, well, hell, we just landed that. I don't know how we're going to deliver this, but we're going to do it.
right.
So who knows? Maybe it'll be a relationship. Maybe it'll be, something that you don't actually foresee right now. And you find yourself in a situation and you're just going to have to make it work.
Yeah, a lot of the challenges that we have. I mean, there's so many challenges between problems with the equipment, vehicles, employees, material, things getting stuck at port, the tariffs. Everyone's worried about these tariffs, importing from overseas. There's just so many things every day that if you look at it all together, it's daunting, but it's just part of the job. And we just, every day you're going to have those. There's never going to be a day. There's no magic wand to kind of make that disappear.
Right.
I guess if I could, that's what I would do. Kind of, but then what would we do? It's you still have the problem of growing the business and getting to where you need to go. So
Yeah, I think that's just everyday life, right? I mean, we're always evolving. The technology's always changing. You're always going to have different political people in office. I mean, it's just a constant thing that, as a business owner, you really have to learn to problem solve. You have to build those relationships, work with people that you trust, and, work with people that will get you where you want to go for sure. So yeah, but it's been enlightening and I've really enjoyed hearing your story. It's really impressive, of what you do. And I didn't know anything about the Meridian, stone and countertops. I guess I've never really thought of just countertops as its own entity. You kind of think of a kitchen, so you kind of think of cabinets, you know um the handles, what are those things called? I'm drawing a blank, but your hardware, and you got your countertops, flooring. I mean, I guess, it is all, different, and everybody has their niche, and they, one service, one thing. But like you said, maybe it'll be something that you add a service, or you add something that, every single job, they're always asking for something else, that goes with the countertops, and you can add that later on. I mean, I think that's a great idea.
yeah, the countertops are, a lot of those kitchen and bath places, which are starting to pop up again because there was a lot of those before, and then they kind of went away. But Home Depot, for example, people go to Home Depot, they buy their cabinets, they buy their countertops, they buy everything. But then Home Depot sends that order to somebody like us. That's what I was doing in Chicago. So when somebody would go into Lowe's, they would buy a kitchen, they would buy the cabinets, or sometimes they would just buy the countertop, and then they would send us the order. We would be the subcontractor for them. So on a bigger scale, these apartment buildings, when the GC is buying out the contract, they're hiring the plumber and the electrician and the cabinet guy, and then they're hiring the stone guy, the countertops. And so that's where we come in. So I feel like when I first came in 2011, the company was offering everything. And so when we split off, I really wanted to just focus on countertops. I think there's a huge market that we can continue to go after. And then all the other products as well. We want to be careful. I don't want to be the one-stop shop where you walk in and they've got everything. They do roofing, siding, kitchens. I don't want to be that guy. I think we specialize in what we do, but we certainly have opportunities to diversify a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, I've got a story to share with you, but again, we're running out of time. So for all of our listeners interested in learning more about you, connecting with you, I mean, what's the best way to reach out? I know it's meridiancountertops.com. Is that how they find
Yep,
your website?
that's it. Meridiancountertops.com. They can go to our website. We're also starting to go put a little bit more of a presence on Facebook and Instagram as well. That should be rolling out soon. So hopefully through that, and but definitely the website.
Right. And then, I know you've got a LinkedIn profile and you're pretty active there. And, all of this will be showcased on LinkedIn. So I'm sure people will be able to find you there. So, yeah. So, for all of you listeners, hopefully you can go find John at Meridian Countertops, and you can follow me on YouTube and Spotify. And we'll have different episodes every week highlighting people like John and his businesses. So if you want to learn more about construction, maybe you're an entrepreneur, maybe you're a young professional, maybe you're in the trades and you're thinking, you just want to go and do something for yourself. Well, stay tuned, because I'm going to have a lot of leaders and, people in the construction space that can tell you their stories, and they can share their challenges and their wins and their successes. And, we can help you along. So thanks for being with us today, and we'll see you next week on our next episode. Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you for having me.